Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
And now,
you're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. We have an unusual guest from an unusual location, and we're talking about what was formerly Burma, which is now Myanmar. And so they're going through a whole revolution in that country. There are about 20 Jews in that country, and we're speaking with Sammy Samuels. He went to Yeshiva University in New York. He's the head of the community. There are about 20 Jews there. So nice to speak with you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about, first about the Jewish community. It seems very small, 20 people. So what is it like there?
Yeah, so it's a very small community. It's only 20 Jews in the entire country, and the population of the country is 52 million. So you can imagine how small the community is. And I myself represent 5% of the Jewish population in the country. So, you know, being Jews in a small community is very, very difficult. But I was fortunate enough to get a chance to study at the Yeshiva University. I graduated in 2006. So it's totally a two different world, coming from the very small community to the big community in New York.
Is there Jewish life? Is there a minyan? Is there kosher food? How does it work when you have only 20 people?
Right, so very difficult. So the minyan is always depend on the tourists, the Israeli tourists coming into the country. The synagogue is right in the middle of the downtown area. So usually, the tourists stop by. So sometimes we have it. But for high holiday like Rosh Hashanah, we bring the rabbi from outside, visiting rabbi. For Hanukkah, we celebrate together with the other community. People from the government, people from the diplomatic community, and friends of the Jewish community. So usually Hanukkah is the highlight of the holiday in Burma.
Why do they like Hanukkah more than Pesach or any other Jewish holiday?
No, I mean, Hanukkah is, you can invite the other community. For Pesach is mostly we do within the community, Jewish community, local community, and the expat community, and the visitors, Jewish visitor. But Hanukkah is like, we can invite to the people from the government, diplomatic community, so they can come together. And we do in different places every year. Sometime at the hotel, sometime at the synagogue. So we invite the leaders from a different community to come up and light the candle as well.
What's the official religion of the country?
The official religion is a Buddhist, and it's about 89 or 85% are the Buddhists in the whole country.
Now, you're not that far from Thailand. You're formerly Burma. You're now the country of Myanmar. But isn't there a whole revolution taking place now?
It is happening right now. The Burma has been under the military for over 50 years. But recently, in 2012, we got the democratically elected government, and in 2015 and 2020, we have an election. But just recently, on the 1st February, the military took over the country as a coup. So as of now, from the February 1st to now, it's over 700 people has been killed by the military, and everybody is living in fear now. I'm able to talk to you right now because I have a Wi-Fi at home, but the whole country internet has been shut off for more than about 25 days.
Wow. So is it dangerous to walk in the streets?
Yeah, people are living in fear because, we had the really, it's the democratic country before, but now the military took over, so everybody, is kind of afraid to walk around, even on the big cities. And then they shut off all the communication at all, and they're terrifying people around the area.
But you were able to get Wi-Fi, so that's pretty good. I'm sure it's not.
Yes, that's why. Thank God. So I was able to speak to you now. But I would say out of 52 million, there are about 30 million people are using, the phone internet now. It has been cut off, so it is very difficult.
So, being a Jew, do you find any discrimination in the country? It's Buddhist. It's not. You're such a minority in the country. Is there any tension with being Jewish?
The Jewish community has been very, it's a no problem at all. And the Burmese, they respect the Jews and they love Israel very much. Because even though, it's a country in Southeast Asia, but Israel and Burma has a great relationship since independence. We both got the independence on the same year in 1948. And then not many people know, but Burma was the first country ever. But the head of the Burmese government, the prime minister, was the first government ever to visit Israel after Israel got independent. And the David Ben Gurion, Moshe Dayan, Golden Meir, they all visited Burma as well. So the two countries has a great relationship since the independence. But lately, because of the military, not so much. But still, we are the people from Burma, the young students are studying in Israel for the agriculture. So relationship has been good. So that's why Burmese people has a great respect to the state of Israel.
Now, I notice you keep calling it Burma. That's the old name? Is there any reason why you don't call it by the name of Myanmar?
People from outside, even when I was living in New York, when I say Myanmar, people don't know much. So when I say Burma, people, okay, Burma near Thailand and near, India. So that's why I'm getting used to calling Burma than Myanmar.
Now, you're about 20 Jews that are in Burma. Let me ask this question. There's no Jewish life. You yourself were observant. You're in Shim University. So why is there 20 Jews still stay in Burma as opposed to going to Israel or any other place?
Right. I mean, we could have moved to Israel or even easily to the United States where I was living there for a while. But I believe it's very important to be in Burma. I think meant to be in there because we have a beautiful synagogue that our family has been taking care for past 30 years. And we are hosting, all these holidays. So I think it's important. I mean, I feel more Jewish and more responsibility being Jews in Burma than in New York. That's my feeling.
Have you had a synagogue meant at some point you had a lot more Jews in the country? So tell us about the history of Jews in Burma, which is now Myanmar, and what happened to it.
So there were about 3,000 Jews, mainly in Rangoon. Rangoon used to be the capital of Burma. So majority came from Iraq, Iran, and in the Middle East. The reason that they came was for the business. They were trading from Burma to India and from India to Middle East. And business grew, more and more came. But then in 1942, when the Japanese came in, the Jews got a little bit of problem. It's not about politics, but it's not about religion. It's politics because the Japanese thought the Jews were spying for the British. So that's why they came to close the synagogue for 2 months. And so the Jewish community started fearing, and many left the country. And some came back after Japanese left after independence. But the Jewish life in that time was different. But then again in 1962, the military took over the country the first time. So many businesses that Jews owned were nationalized. So the Jews said there was no life at all. So they left the country in 1962. So slowly, from that time to now, it's a very few left here.
Your family was originally from Iraq, so what made your family decide to stay?
It was also the business, and then also part of this synagogue. My great-grandfather and the grandfather was the head of the community that time in there. And so he, along with that time in around 62, there were about 300 people still there that time, but slowly people left to the different countries. So we remained there.
What are the ages of the 20 Jews that are in the country?
Majorities are the above 50s and 50s above. But we have about around 50 expat communities, so that's a very nice. Recently, mostly from Israel and in the European countries, and then also the American as well.
You have about 50 people that are there.
Expat, living there.
Living there. Living there. So you get a minyan on Shabbos at all?
Yes, sometimes we do have it, but like I said, majorities they are working there. So usually it's all depend on the tourists. Tourists, when the tourist season come around, like February, December, February. These are the highlight time in the country.
With COVID and with the revolution, with the military have taken over, so I would assume less people have been coming, less tourists have been traveling.
It's almost no tourists are coming now. The country's totally shut down with the COVID, before COVID, and then now even more so with the coup. So it is a really sad thing, and I hope this thing's going to be over soon, because over 700 people has been killed, and it's really need to be end.
But the military doesn't seem to be backing down. They've been getting some bad international press, but they're not moving away from their position that they want to be in control. So it could be at a standstill for a while.
Yes, so they're not backing off, and also the people of Myanmar has been very courageous, and they have been fighting even without gun, without anything. That's why they're making their voice heard. So hopefully from this video or the radio, people will know more about Myanmar, because that's what we are trying to do, to make our voice heard to the outside world.
Now, the 20 people that are there, are they mostly business people? Is that why they're staying, the core community?
Yes, mostly it's in different businesses. We are in the tour. My family is a big one, and then we are in the tourism business. So we have the travel agency called Shalom Travel. So we've been bringing a lot of Israeli tourists and also the American Jews to visit the country, to spend the time with the community, to go around. It's a beautiful country, and but it's, what's happening is really sad.
Have you ever had a Pesach program there?
We do have, yeah, we do have. Also, sometime, Pesach, we had, it's a tourist time, so we had, in right now it's difficult, but in 25 years ago, I remember when I was very young, and my fathers and I, very few tourists in the country, almost none. And that time, my father took me around to the small hotel, and he put the poster, that time, poster saying, "A tree may be alone in the field, a man alone in the wall, but the Jews never alone on his holiday. Join us for the Seder." So he put around those signs in a small hotel where Israelis stay, and even some non-Jews came to our place and knocked on the door and said that, "We're not Jewish, but we saw your sign on this hotel. Can we join you for the Passover?" So that's how difficult it used to be before, but now it's a different story. More opening up, but 25 years ago, very difficult. So we are trying to do.
Where do you get your kosher food, your kosher chickens, your kosher meats? Where do you get the basic provisions?
Very, very difficult. There's almost no kosher food at all in the country.
So what do you do?
So we have fish, and the closest one that you could get is a halal. That's the closest one that you can have.
But halal is not.
It's very difficult.
It's close, but it's not.
It's not kosher. So the closest one is that one, and then you have a fish and a lot of vegetable.
So do the people eat halal meat because they can't get kosher meat?
Some people, they don't eat kosher at all. So it's not because of that, but that's the closest one. So they don't eat pork and etc. But it's very, very difficult being in a small community, being Jews in a small community.
Right, and you can't really import the food. There's not enough of a community to import food at all. I assume there's no.
Exactly.
I assume there's no Chabad there either.
Chabad just came
Chabad there
about a year ago, just before 1 year before the COVID. So it's also very difficult as well. Because they were expecting to have more tourists, but now it's a lot less tourists now.
So what, they have a Chabad house?
Chabad House is here, yeah.
Oh, wow. But there's nobody to go to it.
Rabbi can do the shkita, yeah.
Oh, so is he doing the shkita? Is he doing so now that you have him there?
Only for the chicken. Rabbi's doing it.
Oh, so now you have kosher chicken but no kosher meat.
No, kosher meat is difficult. But for the Pesach, it's all these matzah and everything. We always bring it from Israel or from state, and then all the kosher one is not a problem. We have enough, and also we have a very nice Israeli embassy here, and ambassador and us are like a family. So ambassador always hosts different holiday, and they always have a lot of kosher wine as well at the embassy.
So let me ask you a question. Can't you get kosher food all year round through the embassy, the Israeli embassy that's in the country?
No. Mostly all the kosher wine and matzah and other items, not the meat.
No, I'm saying, but can you get more kosher wines year long, or some of the other kosher?
Yeah. Every time if we need something, we always talk to the Israeli embassy, and Israeli embassy had the channel, so we have no problem getting these kind of items. So, ambassador, and even whenever these crises happen, the first thing that we communicate with the ambassador of Israel. So we had a Zoom meeting together with the embassy, and talking to the community, and also the Israeli expat community to make sure that everybody's safe.
We're speaking with Sammy Samuels. He is the head of the community in Burma, which is now Myanmar, which is about 20 Jews, maybe 50 expats, and out of millions of Buddhists in the country. How does the military view Israel and the Jewish community? You had a great relationship with the Democratic government. What about the military one?
Military also, we have no problem before, and the relationship between two countries, as I mentioned, has been really great in terms of some businesses, agriculture, so, and in technology. So Burmese people and the government has always respect to the state of Israel. So I think because of that, it's no problem at all within the country.
So your biggest challenge, aside from kosher food, which is a big one, is that there's really no Jewish life, because with the exception of Hanukkah
and for me, it's even difficult, being Jews in a country with very few people, and moving. I was, as I mentioned before, I was living in the U.S. for over 15 years. So in New York, particularly, it's two different life.
Are you married?
Yes.
Okay, so at least if you were single, it'd be a lot more difficult too.
So it's a very, very difficult life,
And children, too.
But I'm really glad to be back here, because I think it's important to be in here. This is the country where I was born, where I grew up, and my heart is always here.
No, you're dedicated. So, obviously, it takes a lot of devotion to be there, where you have only 20 people, and it's not the same religious life as you had at Yeshiva University and the 15 years in the United States. Do you have any children?
Yes, I have two.
And what ages? 'Cause what about Jewish education?
It's there's going to be non-Jewish education here. So like what my father did, after high school, first thing is he sent me to Israel to study in there, and then after that to the U.S. So I will probably do not probably, I will definitely going to do the same thing to my children as well.
And how old are your children right now?
No, it's only 1 year. One is 1.5 years now.
Oh, there's a lot of nachas, a lot of mazel and bracha.
Yes, thank you.
I want to commend you. I know it's not easy. You're trying to head the Jewish community, and there's so many different challenges. So, and with the revolution and with the military rule, it only complicates it. But we appreciate you being here with us. Continued success. Let's keep in touch. And we'd like to have a Kosher connection between the Jewish community here and Myanmar, which is formerly Burma. So thank you for joining our broadcast. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
And that's Sammy Samuels, the head of the Jewish community in what was formerly Burma.
Thanks for listening.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Talkline radio and TV with Zev Brenner is just phenomenal. Everybody concerned about the Jewish community should listen and watch. He has the best guests. He asks the most interesting questions. He's always so well prepared. It's talk radio and television from a Jewish point of view at its very best.
To advertise on the Talkline network and Talkline's email and social media blasts reaching over 70,000 people, please call 212-769-1925, extension 100. That's 212-769-1925, extension 100. Or email info@talklinenetwork.com. This concludes Talkline's Jewish broadcasts on radio for tonight. For continuous Jewish programs, please go now to TalklineNetwork.com or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.